today. We've got a 78 C10, and to tell us all about it is the owner, Rob McGregor. Rob, I understand you've had this thing for many years, and it's been in the family even longer.
Yep.
Let's start from the beginning.
All right, so this truck started its history with us in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
My dad bought it from Courtesy Motors. It's right here in Owatonna.
Mm-hmm.
From Leroy Hardy. Good guy. I've known him ever since. He still tells the story behind it. When my dad bought it.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was just a 350 small block. The truck was only 2 years old at the time. 5,000 miles.
Okay.
And he was making a funny noise. And so they kind of just wanted to dump it. And my dad kind of him a little bit. He's like, wow, gosh, it sounds like the motor might be gone. It's knocking a little bit.
Yeah.
So whatever price they settled on, my dad got it, brought it home. He knew it was the water pump.
Mm-hmm. The whole time.
Changed the water pump.
Yeah.
Drove back out there the next day. And he's like, geez, Leroy, this thing runs really good. And so from that point on, my dad drove it for the next 8 years to Yellow Freight up in Burnsville. Mm-hmm. It was his work truck. But he always had a vision what he was going to want to do with it.
Yeah.
So in 1989, Charlie Kaplan, Cappy's Auto Restoration, he took it to him and he redid it from top to bottom. Yeah. And that from that point on.
And that was just paint and body at that point in time?
Yep. My dad brought it home. The 350 that was in it, he still used that motor at the time. Okay. But, he punched out to a 360. Put a different cam, different heads, stuff like that on it. Mm-hmm. Pete Jackson gear drive. So everybody thought it had back then nobody really knew what a gear drive was.
Right. Yeah.
So they didn't know. They're like, does that thing have a blower under the hood?
What's that?
Or what?
Yeah.
Or is the power steering pump going out of it?
Right.
So no one really knew what to think of it. He put a B&M shift kit in it, so you could grab a mean hard second.
Nice.
And so yeah, he started taking to car shows and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It never was a work truck after that again. Yeah. As I got older, my dad and I would go out. I still go to the same road to this day. Yeah. And mess around.
Did you learn to drive on this truck?
Yep. No kidding. This is the first vehicle I ever drove. The first truck I ever did a burnout in. The first truck the first vehicle I ever street raced in. Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah. Yeah. I did. Actually, I lost one race in this truck with that little 350 in it. It was to an IROC Z, and it had a 350. Mm-hmm. But this thing, we actually went out to tape measure the next day and measured the one wheel wonder.
Oh yeah.
And I still ran 240 feet of rubber, and I lost by a car to him.
Oh man.
So, but other than that was the only race I ever lost. As time went on, I got to drive this more and more. Mm-hmm. It was the type of thing where my dad would pretty much, he kind of gave me free reign. So people actually started thinking that it was my truck. Oh. And he didn't care. He laughed about it. Mm-hmm. And, even in high school, when you have those moments where, just growing pains, hey, Dad, can I take the truck for a ride? Yeah. And he'd be like, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So this thing has just been kind of a saving grace over the years. Really? Yeah. A lot of sentimental value.
A lot of window therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Years progressed, and my dad's health started to decline, and we did end up putting a big block in it.
Mm-hmm. You remember what year that was?
That would have been 2011. Okay. She put it was a 454 with a 396 crank. Mm-hmm. And it came out to about 430 cubes. Mm-hmm. And that motor, it was stout. It probably pulled 650 horse. Okay. Anyways, I was a fully grown person, obviously, an adult. But me and another friend took it out. I asked him if he knew exactly what I was going to go do. I was going to do some burnouts with it.
Yeah.
And it actually caught traction in third gear, and I blew the drive shaft out of it.
Yikes.
Yep. And over revved it and spun the belt off. Well, I thought I knocked the rear end out of it. I called my dad. He was laughing. He didn't even care.
No kidding.
He came out. He's going to pull me home with his pickup. And so he's pulling me home. And he said, just leave it running so you have power steering and brakes. And like, all right. Well, we got about 3 blocks from here, and it was almost dark, and I was looking at the temp gauge, and I was kind of idling up more and more and more. And I looked at it, and it was buried. Well, I spun the belt off.
Oh, yeah.
And it overheated it. And that was it. So the truck sat for 7 years. And my dad had bought this block. And
Mine's in it today?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He bought this block. It's a 565 Dart M. And he actually had it down at RNS Racing at one time. And it was down there for a couple of years, and they didn't. My dad wasn't well. They didn't get it done, and he ended up passing. And my mom kind of gave me reins of it at that point, and so I got the motor. I took it out to Stone Racing Engines, and Jamie and Roger Stone put it all back together for me. Couldn't ask for a better situation. They let me be right in the mix of things helping them.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And so at that point I could start to learn, because growing up, my dad, he was a pretty good wrench, and everybody kind of came up here to see him, and he would guide them. And it was a deal where if I would try to work on something, he would be like, just let me do it. And I'd be like, well, you can do it better than me. So
yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. So when I got this, I'm like, oh, I gotta learn here.
Yeah.
And so anyways, fast forward, they have Jamie and Roger have helped me out so much. And the motor's been in and out of it 3 times. Each time we've just done things to improve it. This last build, it was cam, heads, intake, different converter. Cohen built a different converter for it. And now, 2 years ago, we started on the chassis. And Clint Sikora at Sikora Automotive has, again, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what I've done. He's put the 4-link in the rear. He's put the front end in. It's height suspension.
Yeah, it looks like a Mustang too. It's in the front end.
Yep. So we ass end was last year, and now the front end was this year. And I actually had time this winter, and again, he let me participate. He let me kind of do the things that, hey, you know what? You're going to save some money if you kind of do some of the dirty work here. Right. Whether it's drilling holes or scrubbing the firewall or, all that stuff that he's just like,
those kind of things. Yeah.
He's like, you get that stuff done up here and we'll go from there. Nice. And so yeah, it's been a long process.
It's a whole lot.
Yeah. And it always costs a little bit more than what you anticipated. Yep. But I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah. It's been worth it. I've learned the thing I've learned about this truck, and with any other hot rod someone's doing something with, is that you once you find your people, you stick with those people. Yeah. And you don't ask questions. I mean, you can ask some questions, but if there's any advice I could ever give anybody, you don't say, let's say you're doing my motor. Yeah. And I said, well, you know what? So-and-so said that if you did it this way.
I know where you're going.
Yeah. And it's things like that that I've learned, that you, loyalty. Right. Loyalty to the people that have been there for you and helped you. And just, and real, nothing's for free.
Yeah.
Nothing. It doesn't matter if it's your friends or whoever it may be. You make it right with everybody.
Yeah.
And I've grown a lot in that way. And it's amazing what a vehicle will do for you as far as growing. Yeah. And this truck has done that for me since the age of 15.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it's been an awesome journey.
Most people will say a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this, but you'll say there's also like some mental relief in all of this as well. Yeah.
Big time, whether it's, patience or learning how to budget your finances just so you can buy that next part.
What's that?
And it's a lot of sentimental value with this thing. I will take it out to this day, and it's really easy to get emotional on that same trip that he and I used to take together.
Yeah, you kind of have like a lap or a loop.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same pretty much. And the people that I take that route on, they've known this truck on that route since my dad was alive.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they hear it coming, they know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's that time.
Yep. Absolutely.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So when you were saying this was painted in '89, has the paint been touched since then?
Has not.
No kidding.
Yep. It's never seen a winter or really rain since that point.
So it's just a little bit of wax every now and again, and because it is nearly flawless still.
Yeah. It definitely has it's driven. So it definitely has its nicks in it. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So going back into the suspension, rear end, I know it's got a 4-link in there, a real big beefy one.
Yep.
What are you running for coils? And what are you running for rear axle? Do you know what you got underneath there?
Yeah, so they're strange axles. Okay. 32 spline.
Nice.
It's got a 430 gear. It's got.
Is that 9-inch housing?
Yep. Obviously aftermarket. Custom built. Yep. And QA1 shocks.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
No oil brakes.
Willwood. Yep.
All 4 corners?
All 4 corners.
Nice.
Yep. And so all 4 corners are adjustable for ride heights and for shock resistance.
Yep.
I've had it to the track once. It didn't really pan out well. It just went hook. So I've asked around, and I may go to a different shock. I'm not sure what yet, but a double adjustable. Because from what I've been told, my rebound is too quick.
Yeah.
So we need to slow that down so it stays squatted a little bit longer.
Yep. Keep tires planing.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of tuning and adjustments that can probably be done.
It's crazy, yeah. I thought, heck, I'm gonna take it to the track. I'm gonna put some slicks on it and put it to the floor and go.
Yeah, how'd that go?
And it didn't work. I ended up going through all 3 gears in about 100 feet, and it's not like taking our hot rods from when we were 16 years old. That maybe ran. Which is still respectable at 13, 14, say second quarter mile, and you just floor it and go, and it just doesn't.
But not when you're making 4-digit horsepower.
Yeah. It pulls about 1,050. It's definitely a huge learning curve for me. Sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah, well, it should be.
Yeah.
It's just little chunks at a time, right? Always these little chunks.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. I guess this thing probably came from the factory, like a 350 turbo transmission. I'm guessing not in it anymore.
Yeah, no, and split drive shaft.
Really?
Yeah, it was a heavy half.
Okay.
With a split drive shaft. And actually that split drive shaft was still in it when my dad had that 430 in it.
Oh, no kidding. When you split the drive shaft out. Okay.
Yep. And actually you can't see it because with the bed cover on. But there is actually a little dent in the box in the floor.
Yeah, that's still there.
Where the drive shaft tried to come through it.
Yikes.
Yeah, when it let loose. And I was like, gosh, I told my mom, I'm like, yeah, maybe you should have that fixed. She goes, oh no. She goes, That's memory right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So what transmission's in it now?
Turbo 400.
Turbo 400. Okay.
Yeah, with a 5500 stall.
Nice.
From Cohen.
Is it a manual shift or is it
Yep.
still auto? Okay.
It's a manual shift body.
Yep.
Yep. Reverse pattern.
Nice.
Is what the stall that was in it before was either a 48 or a 5000, and it was kind of funny because I was telling Jamie that, you know, I go out in the country and I stand on it, and it's like it just kind of, it doesn't lay down, but it's like it was almost like a rev limiter that it wasn't bouncing off of, but it just it wouldn't pull anymore. And he's like, you know, we need to look at a different converter. And so he actually called Cohen and gave him the numbers from this motor, and they kind of chuckled.
Really?
They said he's been blowing through that stall the whole time.
Oh yeah.
He goes, we'll build him a new one.
Yeah.
And again, you know, even ordering a different converter for this thing, you don't just order a stall anymore. You know, when you start building some horsepower. Yeah. Man, all the specs I had to give him just to get a stall.
Right, vehicle weight, all engine dynamics, cam profile,
gear,
everything.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And Stone's building race engines a lot of times, right?
Yep.
So he's building everything for high RPM.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, this motor for being, you know, 565 cubes, it was still on the dyno. We took it right to 7,500.
Yeah, and it'll probably do that all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and this thing, like I said, you drive on the street, it probably could be driven every day if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
If you could afford to.
Yeah. It's not. You know, it does. On days like today, it'll run great on the street. Hot days, a little bit muggier. With that big carb on it, because it's an 1150 Dominator, it'll get a little bit blubbery. Drive around in town, and then you gotta clean it out a little bit. And but other than that, I can literally, this thing can sit for months, and I turn the pump on, pump it a couple times, fire it, and I can walk away from it and it'll idle on its own. Yeah. And this cam's got, you know, 950 lift on it. Yeah,
so you got a serious valve train in there to hold up to
absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, it was sitting idle all day.
No kidding.
Yep.
Yeah, this thing's an absolute monster.
Yeah, so thank you. It's you know, there's a lot bigger horsepower out there now these days. But it does pretty good for what it is, that's for sure.
Sounds good. Let's open the doors and go through the interior quick. I know it's not all original, so it'd be good to show people that as well.
Yeah.
So obviously not 100% stock. What is still the same? What isn't the same? What's all changed here?
All right, so the interior in this thing was originally a really ugly red. It was had red carpet. My dad had put some in high school. I bought a set of cutlass seats buckets from a guy because it really had a bench seat in it, and some gray buckets. And my dad, you know, he liked them. He's like, hey, you know, can I have those seats? Like I said, I paid $75 for them. I'm like, yeah, you can have them. Because I knew I was going to end up driving this thing all the time anyways, and buckets were better anyways.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, we had red carpet, red dash pad, red roof liner, red everything, and gray seats. Yeah. And it still had the shifter on the column. I mean, even with that 630 horse motor, we were still shifting up on the column.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. And so anyways, well, after I got it, my wife's brother, Sean Fossness, he actually painted the door panels for me, the dash pad. So the panels, the dash pad, everything is still original, just been painted. My wife and I, Andrea, we put different carpet in it. And then just recently, we put a different wheel in it too. I did that this spring. Obviously shifter. Yep. And then...
what's a red button do?
That is a line lock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wish it was, trans brake or
Right.
something like that, but hopefully that's down the road.
When I see red buds, I gotta ask.
Yeah,
I gotta
that's
know what that
right.
sucker does.
It's funny because you take that to shows,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're not necessarily near the truck, so nobody actually has any idea who owns it.
Right.
So you'll hear chatter,
Yeah.
and they're like,
It's got nitrous.
"This has got. I know what that red button's for."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you probably don't.
No.
It's probably not as cool as you think,
Yeah.
but I'll let them think that.
Right. Yeah. Let them do whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it bigger in your head.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you get a lot of that, the whole red button thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now just recently, I got these seats from my friend Jamie Stone. They're originally supposed to go in his Pearl Street Camaro,
Mm-hmm.
and he was actually excited about them, and he went to put them in, and they sat too tall.
Mm-hmm.
So he shot me one heck of a deal on them, and so yeah, just in the past week I put these in. Driver's side isn't complete yet, but it's close.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I'd like to get some aftermarket gauges, some autometer gauges or whatnot, because I have no speedometer. The one important thing that does work is the fuel gauge, because obviously it doesn't get good gas mileage. And so it's always know how much you got, because if I'm across town, it takes about a quarter tank to get back, and that's
Yeah, you were saying you got 18 gallons, you got 50 miles to it?
Yeah, it's got an 18-gallon cell, and the furthest I've driven it is to New Richland, which is 24 miles away from here. And it's pretty bad when we went to a car show early this summer, and you got a map. You know where New Richland's at, but I had to map how many miles it was to know how much extra fuel I needed to bring just in case.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets about 50. We figured 50 miles to a tank of fuel.
Good.
And it burns on 116 octane. So at $17 to $20 a gallon, it's not very practical.
No.
But
No,
but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun though.
Yep. So interior wise,
Yeah, just super simple. I mean, just the basics, right?
it is very simple.
Yeah, you don't need much.
Nope.
Do you have a cage harness bar in the future? Or you're just going to keep it clean, straight truck?
That's what we have to address this winter. Where are we going to take it with this thing? It's always speculation of everybody tells me, the people that really know what's going on, you take horsepower versus the weight, what it should run roughly. And if it makes the numbers that from what everybody says, it's going to need a cage.
Yep.
And that's if it makes those numbers. I hope it does. But it's a bridge these people have been telling me I have to cross eventually, because my motor builder, when he built this motor for me, he told me, he said, Rob, you're going to have to decide what you're going to do with this, because you're stuffing a pretty big naturally aspirated motor in a C10 pickup that's meant for a tube chassis car that all day long at a certain weight is going to run 750s all day. Yeah. And he goes, and you're trying to hook it up on a,
on the gravel road.
A 29 by 12.5, Hoosier tire.
Right.
And he just says that you're going to have to figure it out, because typically you're going to end up cutting up something, like that to make it work. Yeah. And that's the problem I'm starting to run into. Yeah. So they were right. And now at the end of this year, we have to, it's the sentimental value. I don't know if I'm ready to put a cage in it, or, well, they've even said maybe detune it so you can drive it a little bit more, drop the compression or whatnot, and so you can enjoy it. So that's where we're at. We'll address it. I'm kind of trying to push it off, because who wants to go slower?
Well, nobody.
Yeah, you always want to go faster.
Yep.
And
make more power, bigger numbers.
So it's like, I gotta, I got to figure it out.
So there's more to be had in the future.
Yes.
And let's be honest, no project's done.
You couldn't be more right.
Yeah.
I've learned that in a hurry because, you know, I thought we were pretty much done, you know, with certain things. But then since the last time we were at the strip, now it's got new wheels on it. Now it's got bead locks on the rear and some new slicks waiting to go on it just because it didn't work the first time. And
right.
You know, it's thousands of dollars later just to give it another shot.
Yep.
You know, and it might work and it might not.
Yep. Cool. We've talked a lot about the motor. Let's go on the front of this truck and kind of look in the engine bay a little bit and see what's going on there.
Yep.
Cool. So under the hood, very simple. So I'll start like passenger side here. No AC, no heat, no nothing.
Yeah, no. So I'll show you some pictures of that big box that used to sit there.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing stuck out literally to right here.
Yeah, a long ways.
Yeah, and my dad actually had the fuel pressure gauge screwed into that.
No.
So it was.
I guess it'll work there.
Yeah, it looked kind of, and it was fiberglass. So every time it broke in that area, we just screw it into
back
another
in.
spot onto it.
Nice.
So I eliminated all that. Probably the second build.
Okay.
And no more windshield wipers. We eliminated those this winter.
That's just all in just the name of weight reduction.
Yeah, you know, and I never drive it in the winter anyways. And that
rains.
Yeah, that winter or rain. Yeah. And the wiper transmission, we got rid of that because I wanted to clean up the firewall more. My whole goal is really to get this firewall cleaned up, which I haven't done the greatest job because I see how other people do it. I mean, they strip everything, starts from scratch, and every time we pull the motor out, I'm like, okay, I eliminated a little bit more. I can grind and sand and shoot it again right there. But now it's kind of came down to I may need a new brake booster because obviously you know we got disc brakes all the way around now. You know, talked about put Willwood brakes on, but I've never changed a booster. And
that's a smaller booster too, right? The factory booster was a big old sucker. Yeah,
and I don't think it would have worked with a big block. The valve cover would have never cleared it.
Oh,
and
right.
I'm pretty sure that's why years ago my dad eliminated that bigger one.
I'm good. So you're on an electric booster now, or electric vacuum pump?
Yep. So we got a vacuum pump here. And you know the cam's so big, so it doesn't build enough vacuum.
Right.
So yeah, it runs off of that. We put obviously different steering in it this winter also, and we had to reroute all of that because the original steering came straight down.
Yep.
And now it cuts right into the frame right there, so we had to do a little bit of frame notching. We actually had to take one of the header tubes and cut it off.
Oh, really?
And reposition it. And actually Brandon Karsten, an amazing exhaust guy, he re-welded it, and you can't even tell really on that header.
No kidding.
Where he fixed it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it worked out great.
Nice. And then you've got something a little unique going on too with our front accessory drive. Usually these run a short water pump.
Sure.
You're running a long water pump because you've got a belt drive on it. So you've had to make a few modifications too.
That spacer that goes behind the fluid damper, when Sean and I were putting it on, it was on a Friday night. I remember it. And all of a sudden we went to put the belt on, and that pulley was out for a good quarter inch, and he's like, well, that's not going to work.
Right.
Because we were in a position to where he actually was going to let me, he has electric fans on his Camaro, and the fans were going to mount up perfect right here. So then I would have just ended up buying him new ones. And he's like, well, we got problems here, so I think we need to abort that idea, address what we got going on, and just put the regular fan back on again, and maybe eventually go electric.
That's what works for now with the long water pump setup instead of the short water pump.
Yep.
Sounds good. Looks like you got it dialed in now, though.
Yeah. However, like I said, he was the brains behind it. However, he kind of laid it out. Yeah, it works perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier with the whole setup.
Yeah, we'd like to see the ingenuity, that's for sure. Cool. Well, you've done a pretty good job of walking us around everything. Can we hear it run?
Absolutely.
All right. It's hard to put into words what you feel when you feel this thing run when you're standing next to it in over 13 and 1 compression ratio, and it's just an absolute, I don't know, it's a very visceral like feeling.
Right.
But I'm guessing you get a lot of attention from the blue and red lights.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, surprisingly enough, they're pretty good to me around here.
Yeah.
I've had a couple situations where I have been pulled over. One in particular, it was a Friday night.
Yeah.
I was actually going to go work out, and that's kind of my thing. People go like on like cruises and whatnot, and they whether it's a bike or a hot rod, and they kind of go bar hop or whatever they do, and I grab my workout stuff, I jump in this thing, and I go to the gym. That's my outing. I'm a pretty boring guy. And anyways, it's Friday night. I park it here at my mom's. I come up here, get it, and I'm rolling through town, and I went right through downtown. And of course, people are standing outside the bar, and they're telling me to get on it and let's hear that thing and whatnot.
And people in town know the truck, right?
Yep. And there's about 3 or 4 four-way stops going through the main drag. And I'm telling myself, no, it's not going to happen. And I got up to there was a stoplight, and what went through my head at that moment, I don't understand, but light turned green. I started rolling through the stoplight, and I just let it start eating. And I went by a gas station called Fuel and Food, and there's people standing in that gas station looking at me, and the expression on their face wasn't typical, like hell yeah. It was more like they're looking at me like, what is this guy doing? And I let that thing eat for 3 years, and I just kind of let up a little bit, and I look out my side mirror, and there was a cop behind me the whole time. And they didn't have to turn the lights on. I just pulled over and I shut it off, and it was a female officer. She comes walking up, and I had my stuff ready, and she's like, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "Well, you tell me. You just seen everything that just happened."
You're right, yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, that wasn't very good, was it?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, probably not." And so she goes back to her car, and she comes back up. She goes, "Here's your stuff back." And I was like, "Man, she is going to destroy me right now."
Yeah.
And she goes, "We're going to chalk this up as a learning experience tonight." And I said, "What?" And
yeah.
I was like, "Thank you so much." I was like, "You are the coolest person I've ever met at this point." And she's like, "Well, I mean, what was I going to say? My foot slipped for 5 seconds, I mean,
yeah.
And,
through every gear.
Yeah. And so, and I said to her, I promise, I apologize. I did not see you back there. She goes, "Well, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I was behind you or not."
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, don't be doing that stuff in town.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. 40-some-year-old man, acting like I'm 17 still. But,
whatever.
I think she was a little shocked when she came walking up to the vehicle and actually seen me. She was expecting some kid.
You're right.
And so, yeah, she was easy on me. I appreciated her for that. So
it's nice when they give you the stern warning.
Yep.
And yeah, just kind of give you that little reality check.
Yep.
Not to pay that coupon.
Absolutely.
Cool. Can we take it for a ride?
Absolutely.
I'm excited about this one. Engine makes and like shakes the whole chassis. There's not a single rattle in this thing anywhere.
No.
Everything's tight. You expect these old trucks, these square. I own 2 square bodies. They all rattle.
Really?
Yeah. Either there's something in the dash or whatever. Yeah, this thing's tight. And it feels like a cat, like just building up tension before it pounces and goes.
How comfortable these seats are.
I know. They're not bad. And they fit the colors match and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good addition. Do you ever get tired of the race fuel? Really?
I mean,
I'm kind of surprised.
I mean, I love the smell.
Well, the smell's what I mean. Like that's all you're getting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. Just the price.
Yeah, the price. Yeah. Man, it smells so good.
It's expensive cologne.
Yes. That only guys are attracted to. Drives super smooth. Yeah. Real smooth.
It rides awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. I'm ready. Let's get it. I know you couldn't keep traction.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Thing's a damn animal. Woo. Yeah. I see why you like that. Get it? All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this Hot Rod Bio. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Rob, thank you so much for showing us your truck.
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys next time.